Golden Blue Dude back with another video just for you. And hey, if you're a college football or a college basketball fan, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button because that's all we do every single day. I know the off season is very long. Seems like it takes forever. I'm here to get you through it. Go check out our Patreon page. We're putting a lot of time and resources into that. In fact, we had our first Patreon live show last night. Had to figure out a few things, but we finally got it figured out. Also, go check out the great website that Joey Foster designed. 8 great writers led by our head writer, Michael Walker. And of course, our merchandise store. We have a lot of great stuff over there. In fact, I ordered some t-shirts from it myself. I got the gold one and the blue one. Can't wait to get them. On to today's story. The Miami Hurricanes. Is something shady going on at Miami? You know, it's tough to tell, but honestly, what is shady these days? Now that NIL is passed and the transfer portal is in full bloom, I mean, what is the definition of shady? It seems like everything's legal. In the offseason, Miami did go out and get head coach Mario Cristobal from Oregon. I think that's a fantastic move for Miami, and I think it's going to pay off immediately. I'm talking about this year. First of all, let's talk about the importance of 5-star recruits. I know we already know that it's pretty important. We get it. That's why we look at recruiting class rankings, but this should actually show you the gap in talent when you get 5 stars versus not getting 5 stars. Now, we all know that Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, and Cincinnati made the playoffs last year. Alabama has 45 stars on this year's team, and Georgia has 19. Recruiting class rankings for 2021, Georgia was the number 4 class, Michigan was number 13. And even though Michigan got into the playoffs, they got absolutely blasted by Georgia 34-11. So even though it didn't seem like it was that big of a gap, it mattered and you saw it on the field. So what this tells me is, sure, maybe you could get to the playoffs with fewer 5 stars or no 5 stars in Cincinnati's case, but once you get to the playoffs, you will get exposed by the teams that do have more 5 stars. Where did Miami rank? Well, they were number 11, so Miami is getting some talent. Fast forward to 2022. Georgia has the number 3 recruiting class. Michigan has the number 9 recruiting class. Miami has the number 15 recruiting class. So how does all of this tie together? Well, Miami's making some moves in the offseason. And of all the fan bases, the West Virginia fan base knows this for a fact. Hakeem Mesidor, one of our best defensive linemen, he was a defensive tackle for West Virginia, entered the transfer portal. And the biggest significance for that is the first Neil Brown recruit that's entered the transfer portal for West Virginia. He's all but certain going to Miami. The biggest reason was that he wanted to play defensive end, and with Dante Steele's coming back, that was just not going to happen at West Virginia. So he entered the transfer portal. Looks like he's going to Miami. But they've also got another player from West Virginia, and that's former starting cornerback Daryl Porter Jr. Now, he's much more of a wild card. He has flashes of brilliance, but he's also had some bonehead moments in his career. He takes too big of gambles, so they need to straighten out his decision making. So that's 2 players that Miami has gotten from West Virginia. Not really worried about Daryl Porter, but losing Hakeem Mesidor, that's going to hurt a little bit for West Virginia. Another question that's popped in my head might be a little far-fetched, but it's still worth asking. Was this to get revenge on West Virginia for stealing Jacoby Spells out of their own backyard? Yeah, we out-recruited Miami in their own backyard this year. Now, on top of that, we found out that 2 offensive linemen for Georgia have entered the transfer portal, and both of them 5-star recruits. I'm talking about Clay Webb and Amarius Mims. And it sounded like Amarius Mims is going where? Miami. They're picking up another great transfer. Now, right now in the transfer portal rankings, Miami's 23rd. That's not bad, but it's not great. Once they lock down Hakeem Mesidor and Amarius Mims, that could vault them into the top 10 easily. So the Hurricanes could actually be one of the top 10 teams when it comes to the transfer portal this year. So Mario Cristobal is trying to make an immediate difference in Miami. He is recruiting at a decent level, but he wants to win now, so he's going out and making the most of the transfer portal. So how big of a difference could we see from Miami 2021 to Miami 2022? We could see a significant difference. Massive difference. Here's what they did in 2021. First game, number 1, Alabama in Atlanta. We already knew that was going to be an automatic loss. 44-13, absolutely got blasted. Next game, barely beat Appalachian State 25-23. Next game was a home game against Michigan State. Lost that convincingly, 38-17. Blew out Central Connecticut State 69-0. Lost to Virginia at home, 30-28. That was a head scratcher. And then they went on the road and lost to North Carolina, 45-42. That one not so much a head scratcher, but the Virginia loss was. And they come back home and beat number 18 NC State 31-30. Miami finishes strong. Check this out. So they beat number 18 NC State. Then they go on the road and beat number 17 Pitt 38-34. Then they beat Georgia Tech at home 33-30. Then, of course, another head-scratching loss at Florida State 31-28. But after that, home against Virginia Tech, that's a win, 38-26. And then on the road to Duke, 47-10, that's a win as well. So they finished the season winning 5 out of their last 6 games. That is a strong finish. They had to withdraw from the Sun Bowl because of COVID-19 issues, so their final record was 7-5. So you count the Alabama and the Michigan State loss. Hindsight 2020, that makes sense. Those should have been losses. At North Carolina, I'm saying that should be a loss because even though North Carolina was having a down year, they're still good enough to beat a superior opponent at home. But the 2 question mark losses, Virginia at home and at Florida State. Can they avoid that this year? Well, let's look at their 2022 college football schedule real quick. First, they get an FCS Bethune-Cookman. That's a win. Southern Miss at home. That's a win. At Texas A&M. Is that a winnable game? It is a winnable game, but that is a very, very, very tough environment. I don't know if Miami can pull that off. Can they keep it competitive? That's the better question. Can they keep it competitive on the road at College Station? We'll find out. But after that, Middle Tennessee, then they go into their bye week. So we're probably looking at 3-1 going into their bye week. And even though that loss to Texas A&M stings, that's still better than the start from last year. At that time, they would be 2-2. After the bye week, they get North Carolina at home. This is a revenge game. Very, very, very winnable game. After that, a road trip to Virginia Tech. Yes, it's tough to win on the road to Virginia Tech, but Virginia Tech's not going to be good at all, so that might not even matter. Then they get Duke at home. That should be an easy win. Should be, but don't forget about last year, losing to Virginia at home, then on the road to Florida State. Then another revenge game at Virginia. Then another revenge game, Florida State at home. So they get back-to-back opportunities to get revenge on teams that they lost to last year. After that, on the road to Georgia Tech at Clemson. That probably should be a loss. Then they finish off the season at home against Pitt, who they beat on the road last year. So looking at the schedule, I do see 2 probably should be losses. On the road to Texas A&M and on the road to Clemson. But all the other games are either should be a win or winnable games. So Miami definitely has a chance to have a 10-win season. The question is, can they avoid the bonehead losses like the ones they had last year? Don't forget you can support Golden and Blue Dude through PayPal. And right now, every single donation goes towards getting us, all of us, a P.O. box so that you can send a mini helmet to Golden Blue Dude so that I can display him forever in my background. I think this Miami team is more talented. I think the defense is going to be much better than what it was last year. I'm telling you, I think these offseason moves for Miami will immediately pay off this year. I think Miami is a contender in the ACC Coastal, and depending on how they look on the road to Clemson, they could be an actual contender for the ACC outright. So we might be talking about Miami versus Clemson in a revenge game for the ACC championship. Miami would have a much better chance of beating Clemson the second go around. Now, right off the bat, I do think Mario Cristobal is a better coach than what they had last year. Number 2, I do think their schedule is a little bit easier than what it was last year. I know that's a tough out-of-conference at Texas A&M, but besides that, their out-of-conference much more winnable this year. And if you look how their schedule actually sets up, it's actually kind of difficult to find a trap game. Honestly, if you go back and look at last year, that road trip to Florida State, it screamed trap game. I look at this year's schedule, I don't know if I see a game that's really situated to be a trap game. If there was a trap game, maybe the road trip to Virginia Tech. Maybe. So they do have one more true road game than what they did last year, but they're out of conference is a little bit easier, so it kind of balances itself out. You know, as a West Virginia fan, should I be mad at Miami for grabbing 2 of our former players? Maybe I should be, but this is just how college football works right now. I'm not going to be mad at Miami. If West Virginia does that to another team, I would be happy, right? So it is what it is. You got to roll with the punches. So y'all let me know what you think about the situation in Miami. Do you think that they'll be better than the 7-5 that they were last year? And if you do, how much better? I look forward to your comments. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you on my next show.